Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. We're live with about 67 students on Zoom, as well as we got live going on here with Tom and Tom. We got Tom here. Tom New York and Tom Essig here. And we're going to call Sachi live because she's upstairs. And Bridget should be up in a moment too, if she's not. But we got a good posse here. If you're new to the show, welcome. We study the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is probably the gold standard of literature, Vedic canon for understanding yourself underneath the body. It's the study of Bhakti-yoga, or how to resurrect the spirit in connection with the divine through love and devotion. And this is the book here. It's a massive collection, 12 cantos, 18,000 verses, commented on by all the masters of ancient India. So sometimes there's many interesting later books that come that we study in yoga, but this is the essence of it all right here, Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's filled with all those great Vedic truths and wisdom that we like so much, that are practical, relevant, applicable even today. But it's told in fantastic, beautiful stories of gods, goddesses, avatars, and of course, my favorite, sweet baby Krishna in the 10th canto. It's all Krishna's pastimes. It's for all people of all religions who want some direction to their life, or maybe how to live a life more effective, a little bit more joyful, a little less botched up. I think it's safe to say we might have all made a few botches now and then. We've all perhaps wanted to hit some undo on our life, on our choices.
I thought you were going to say hit other people.
We like to hit other people.
Sometimes we go there.
I like to undo the times I've hit other people as well. But yeah, and I'm here with my old friend Kaustubha. We've known each other since we were kids, pretty much. 15 years old. We used to hang out in New York City. We were punks hanging out on the Lower East Side in the early 80s. And then we joined an ashram, lived in ashrams as monks for years. Both became yoga teachers, me in LA and Kaustubha in New York. And then I moved to New York and we rebuilt our friendship. And here we are.
All right.
Good story. Anything you want to say? It's pouring rain here, Kaustubha.
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to say is that tonight is Thursday. Every Thursday at the Bhakti Center in New York City, they have Thursday night kirtan from 7 till 9 p.m. And, I was just thinking that you're going to be in town, right? You're coming down to New York today.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a new thing. I was just being told that there's a crew of kirtan people. They're very dear friends of ours, the Kufi family, Ananta, Achyuta, and their nephews. And beyond their own, beyond that, there's just a crew of people in Brooklyn from the Radha Govinda temple in Brooklyn they're amongst the most incredible kirtan musicians and devotees in the world, right? I mean, we've gone all over the world. You travel a lot.
It's really true. These guys are the real deal when it comes to kirtan.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think you can hear this. I think their channel on SoundCloud is called Concrete Jungle Kirtan or something like that.
And Concrete Jungle on SoundCloud.
Yeah, Concrete Jungle.
Stuff.
Just if you want incredible kirtan, just check out that channel. It's all up there for free, so anyone can listen to it. So I think once a month, it's going to be like the Brooklyn night at the Bhakti Center, and that's tonight. So I was just thinking it was cool hey, you're in town. Why don't Zoomers and others, people that are listening to Wisdom of the Sages, come to the Bhakti Center tonight. It's at 25 First Avenue on the Lower East Side. Louis, let's see you there if you can come. Oh, are you down in Atlanta? Yeah, he's down in Atlanta. Okay. But in any case, let's come hang out. If we haven't met, it would be cool to meet. If we know each other, it'd be great to see each other. And we'll have some fun tonight. You can it's 7 till 9, but you can come and go as you
I'm
like.
excited. I'm bringing 2 of my kids.
All right. So that was it. Also, we've kind of kicked off our Patreon account, our Patreon page this week. And we'll start having classes starting tomorrow. And, I'm going to be speaking to today to a small group of yoga students. I'll record that. That's the kind of thing that we'll put up. I'll give a class on the 13th chapter of the Gita. Everybody that's on Patreon has already gotten the handout that goes with that. I think you're going to be doing a Sweet Baby Krishna book reading coming up sometime soon, right? We're going to figure that out and schedule that stuff. So we're going to be bringing content there. Quite a few people, about 80 people, have kind of signed on to that now and become patrons. We encourage people to join up. You can become a patron at any level you want.
Thank you very much, people.
Yeah, so thank you to all those people that are already participating. It means a lot to us. And if you haven't yet, check it out. It's at Patreon/Wisdom of the Sages. Anything else, Raghu? Want to tell people how they can connect?
So, yeah, please. If you want to connect, if you got any questions, you can write Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. We have a dedicated lady who reads and goes through all of our emails, and she will pass on the messages to us.
I just want to share that it's Raghunath's connection may be just a little choppy today because it's raining and there's a storm up there. I read a comment. I don't know if it was on YouTube or something like that, and someone said, you guys, it could be higher quality if you didn't go through Zoom and have the live audience. And this morning I was reading a commentary by Srila Prabhupada. It was a commentary on Bhagavatam, I think, and no, it was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it was Sanatana Goswami and Sri Chaitanya speaking to each other, and Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya to speak on the glories of this verse that we're going to read today, the Atmarama verse. And Sri Chaitanya said to him, I don't know anything. What do I know? But because you're here, I'm feeling inspired. So I'll say whatever comes to me. And I think and then in the commentary that Srila Prabhupada says that the nature of transcendental conversation is it's a two-way thing. It's like the speaker feels inspired by the hearer. And I know for us, it means a lot to be able to be on Zoom and have a live audience, see people, feel the reaction, have some back and forth. So we sacrifice a bit of the quality of the sound quality because it goes through Zoom. And some days we're going to have a little choppy connection, maybe particularly on Raghu's end because he's living up there in the country. But we really feel that it's worth it to have the energy of the Zoom people here live.
I feel the same way. Hey, I wanted to share a cool cookbook just got to me. I don't know if everyone's
another plug. When you got Crossroads?
Crossroads is a great vegan restaurant that a really nice guy, Tall, opened up on Melrose, and we went there and let me just show again here.
Where's that? In Chatham?
No, it's in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
But, we went out to dinner there.
How do you get there, Raghu? How do you get there?
How do you get to LA?
I thought you were going to, that was your cue for you to do your Californians thing. How do you get there?
Well, you go down the 405, exit at Melrose, take San Vicente all the way to Rutgers Canyon. Anyway, LA is this thing, but I want to give a shout out to Tal because he's doing a great job. The place is packed. It's beautiful. It's unbelievable. Vegan. It's in the conversation. It's no longer hidden, secret, weirdo vegan. It's in the big conversation of what are we putting in our bodies. So it's a great place to bring people who aren't sort of turned on, who are just sort of got their heels dug in to standard American diets. And Tal's a great guy. He's an old hardcore straight edge shelter guy. That's how we know him. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, Just want to plug that because he's doing good work out there. All right, so we're on Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 9, and we do these invocation prayers, thank you, before we start, because it's nice to give appreciation before you do anything in the course of a day. That's what I find. If I wake up with this mood of gratitude and appreciation, I'm setting my direction for having a great day. What do you think about that, Kaustubh?
It's important. You know, it's just like our minds get in these negative loops. You know, you can just turn it into a positive loop. You know, it's actually the reality. The reality is life is good, you know?
Yeah. And I'm also feeling like because we do these same things every day, they become, quote, rituals. A lot of us hate the word ritual because I don't want to do I went to church when I was growing up with all these rituals, but rituals are supposed to have substance. A ritual that's just a ritual becomes perfunctory. And then all of a sudden, why am I saying this? Why am I chanting Om? Why am I chanting Japa? Why am I chanting this Narayanam Namaskritya? But the idea is that you have rituals, but the rituals have deep substance, and we feel them. So even though some of us are saying this, I want you to feel we're offering obeisances. That's how we like to read the English translation as well. Try not to make it ritualistic in the sense like substanceless, or it will mean nothing. But if you actually do with great appreciation for what we have, these rituals become very valuable, become very useful, they touch your heart. Let's dive right in here. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised transcendental, is established as an erect. Om Jnanatamurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Stu, do you mind if I start off with something I'm just like noticing and going through lately?
Raghu, wherever your heart takes you, that is Bhagavatam. Because you are connected. Let's hear it.
You know, I'm noticing like there's like preliminary stages of bhakti where we learn these rules of how to steer our mind, our thoughts, our speech. And so we hear these things like, don't find fault, don't criticize. And so we work through those bad habits because finding fault, criticism, harboring resentment, these things like work against the flow, the downward flow of bhakti.
Okay.
Then there comes a time where we see something, well, this is wrong, or this person. And this tends to happen, especially if you've been practicing bhakti for a while. I noticed this to happen. You get along, you're moving, you've been even practicing for 5 years or for 10 years or for 20 years. Sometimes you see this. People get to this, it's almost like a laziness in those basic rules. They get into higher things, but forget that basic rules. And the problem is we're not pure. We're works in progress. So I'm going to see even a person also practicing, but they screw up. Sometimes people screw up in a big way. It's okay to discern. It's okay to say, you know what? That person did something bad. That was wrong. That person did something against Dharma. That was inappropriate. That person, right? You see that all the time. Sometimes people screw up. It's okay to call that out, especially if it's in a community or something like that. It's another thing to hate. When we start to hate a person for stupid activities, we lose. We become hateful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trick of Maya to be hateful. I don't care if you've been around 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, and you're really serious about chanting japa, about going to kirtans, about, meditation, about, wearing the appropriate, yoga outfits. If you are harboring hate and resentment towards anybody, even if people are really screwing up, we're doing something massively wrong. We don't hate in the bhakti, in bhakti. We discern. We discern, we call things out. That's not good. Once I get to indulging in hate, that's a problem. That's a big problem. We hate the sin, not the sinner. What do we do for those people that are even to this day screwing up? We pray for them. We're compassionate for them. We're tolerant for them. Otherwise, you have a collective people. And I don't care what outfit they're wearing, what haircut they have, what markings they have on their forehead, what rosaries they use, so to speak. If we are hating, we've just created what we all hate is like mundane religion. Mundane, just group. It's just materialism, but dressed up in a spiritual way. We're not here to recreate that. We've all been through it. It's over. We're here to be so much higher. We're here to call out, this is wrong. And how do you know what's even wrong? Well, there's obviously some gross things when people do it wrong. Then there's nuanced things. Now, I got to be careful when I start calling other people out because there's so many different angles of vision. Just like when people get divorced. It's sad when people get divorced. There's always two sides, generally. There's always two sides. I got to be careful to make my hard stance against. When I start looking and trying to be the sheriff, that's a good one, the sheriff. Be careful, because you're setting yourself up. That Chutes and Ladders games. When you start calling out people and become the sheriff, it is like a chute going straight down back to zero, if not below zero. We want to hit the ladders where we're serving, we're appreciating, we're glorifying, we're seeing the good, we're overlooking the shortcomings, and we're encouraging. We're not, sometimes people even relish when people do something bad. It's really super dangerous. I want to put that out there because I still see it like crazy. I see it in me when someone does something. By the way, if I'm talking like the preacher, I'm preaching to myself as well. I don't feel like I'm above any of you here. But when I see somebody screwing up, I got to be careful to be in a prayerful mood for them and not just a condemning mood. How dare they do that? Did you see what they did? They're in so much Maya, right?
Right. So you're saying that we should shoot the sheriff in our own heart.
Ooh, I shot the sheriff.
Even shoot the deputy if you have to.
But no, I did not shoot the deputy. I did not shoot the deputy.
Some thoughts I've had in somewhat recent times about what you're speaking about.
Yes.
It's like when you first come to Bhakti and you first come into a community of Bhakti.
Yes.
And when it's all new to you.
Yeah.
It can be like, my God, all these people are incredible, right? It's like they know so much. Their habits are so amazing. They've got so much to share. You're just kind of like in awe of everyone, And
you have appreciation for everybody.
You broke up a lot. You said appreciation for everybody?
You have an appreciation for everybody.
You have an appreciation for everybody. Now, what happens is the way the time works, is it changes that perspective. And then you begin to see, you know what? I know more now than I did before. And I see all the faults that everybody's got. I see this person is like this and that person's like that. And you know what this person did? They did that. And then your mind can become full of a sense of superiority or a sense of criticism. And that begins to all of that begins to, it distracts, I think it was Thomas on our Telegram thread that we have, the Wisdom of Sages Telegram thread. Tomas
from Germany.
No, I think it was Thomas Haribol from America. And he wrote a little saying, and I think it was, the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? Like, we can't lose our focus on what's important. We tend to get caught up in
the main thing.
The main thing is to keep the main thing. Yeah.
Can we write that down, please? Where's our scribe? Keep the main thing a main thing.
The main thing is to keep the main thing. It's a three. It's a three level.
The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Now we start to lose our focus. Now we start to get, our mind begins to contemplate and reflect more on the faults of others than on the spiritual truth that was attracting us in the beginning. Now, this is the third stage, right? So you come in on the stage of like full on appreciation, my God. Then you start to think you know more than everybody else and you're better than everybody else. But then if we mature, we get to the point where it's not that we don't see the same things that we saw before, what flaws may be there, what shortcomings may be there. But we see those shortcomings in another perspective, that they're not so important, right? That maybe this person has this bad habit that they just have trouble getting over. But you know what? They, out of the millions and millions of living entities that are wandering this earth, they're trying to connect. That means much more to me than what fault they may have. And that fault becomes very insignificant.
That criticism that I have, I'm bringing in from my previous non-spiritual bad habits. And I use that criticism to give me some worth. It's such crazy stinking thinking that I'm criticizing and sizing everybody up with their shortcomings to give me some worth. And it's bad thinking. And I have to go into the community of people practicing bhakti, especially, always with this type of like deep appreciation. Not trying to size up people and find out where they're, and we do that a lot. I mean, just like the Joe Rogan thing the other day. I'm reading those comments. It's like no one even knows me, but they're either like glorifying me or they're like just sizing me up and like look at his stupid scarf, look at his stupid face, look at his stupid head. Well, he's like this guy's overweight, whatever it is. They're just like it's like this is like a level. I remember about like really having my heels dug in also. People walk in the door and you size them up without even knowing them. Who's this idiot? It's like horrible. It's horrible what we do to find worth in this world. But our worth doesn't come from finding other people's faults. Our worth comes from being worthy, acting in a worthy way. That's what Dharma is in the first place. Come on!
I remember when we were kids, like from my friends and stuff, we would sit on a stoop like on St. Mark's Place and just make fun of every person that came down the street. By the way.
I remember that stoop.
And just make fun of every single person that came down the street, just
that was like the pastime. That was the pastime. You sit on the stoop and you make fun of people.
Yeah. So when you're a kid, okay, maybe
Mayor's looking at us like, I've never done that. I've never done that. He's like, really? That's what you guys did? That was your youth? Where did you drop from the Swarga Loka?
But
Mayor just floated down from a higher planet.
Bhakta Louis calling it the heckle box.
The heckle box.
But we got to grow up. You can't get anywhere spiritually like that. You gotta start to.
You got to grow up. You got to step into new shoes. You got to download the new software.
Kindness and simplicity. That's the program for the yogi.
Kindness, simplicity, tolerance, and love. That's how we deal with. If you got a screw up in your life, tolerance and love. Tolerate them and love them.
All right.
What do you think about that?
Okay, you got that off your chest?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Otherwise, you know what I hate? Because I hate the concept of creating the same old dumb.
I thought you said that. I thought you said we can't hate. You just telling us we can't hate, and now you're telling us what you hate. I hate you. You remember that one?
That. Can I hate?
Do you
Hate
know?
the hate.
Do you remember that song? I hate hate.
Yes, I do. I hate hate.
There
That's
you
right.
go. Louis remembers it.
Bhakta Louis bouncing his head. If you
Reagan
don't know
Youth.
Bhakta Louis, he's our guy from the genesis of the old hardcore. How old are you now, Bhakta Louis? Unmute yourself for today.
I'm not ashamed to reveal that. I just turned 60 last year.
What?
Yeah.
Bhakta Louis, 60. Come on, I'm going to give him a big cheers this morning for Bhakta Louis.
Hey guys,
Cheers.
You guys got to promise me what you said something that was important to me when I was suffering from vertigo the other day. You said you would take my body because I told you it felt like I'm dying every time it happened. You would take my body. Yeah, I got to keep you to that promise and just dump me by the Ganges, man, please.
Oh, Bhakta Louis, don't you worry. When you leave your body, we're taking that corpse of yours and dumping you right in the Ganges where you belong.
I'm just saying, it's a sack of flesh, and if we need to realize that, and that's what all of this teaching is. Some of it, anyway, not all of it. Some of it's teaching us that we need to realize that we're not this body, and that we need to get to a higher plane of thinking. And I really appreciate that you guys are really just constantly reminding me that it's not about this damn hate that's consuming the planet. That we got to learn to hate, like we're just saying, like David Sturgeon said in that song, I hate hate. Yeah.
There you go.
He's quoting a band. See, Bhakta Louis, if you don't know, he's the genesis of me and Kaustubha. One of the seeds back there in the early 80s. He was in a band called Antidote. They were like not a huge band, but they were like huge in our life. And
Underground, very important underground band.
Important, like early sowing of seeds of bhakti, which is huge now in the alternative music, hardcore punk community. And we have a bunch of other like popular musicians here. We got Liam here on the show. We've got Bob Healy on the show. We've got Scott Mueller now on the show. We got a lot of Paramananda Prabhu on the show. We've got a lot of musicians out there who will spread these seeds of love, and they sprout. Bhakta Louis, you are the genesis, brother, and we welcome you here, and we salute you.
We salute you. Actually, if you just look at it, an important figure in the history of bhakti spreading in the West, they put out the first hardcore record that began to speak about bhakti was this band Antidote.
Yeah.
I think it had more to do with the image that was on the record.
Well, you put it there.
We'll take it.
Well, we asked. We didn't put it there. It's not like we took it from them. We asked the people in the Brooklyn temple.
Nice.
Brooklyn president at the time was Lakshmi Prabhu.
Right.
We went into the office and we asked properly, hey, is it okay if we use this image? And they were like, of course.
Because they want some royalties.
They inspired what was to become the seeds of early signs of bhakti in the New York hardcore scene.
Right.
Yeah, if you're listening to on Zoom, maybe you could just write up on the board if you got interested in bhakti from that music scene, because some people have, and it's sort of interesting just to see. But let's jump in right here.
Okay.
We're on text 9. Sri Shaunaka asks Sutta Goswami. So here, just picture a great sage sitting with hundreds of other liberated souls in the forest, and he's giving a discourse. So Shaunaka asked Sutta, so the head of these sages asked the main speaker, and he's speaking about his teacher, his guru, Sukadeva Goswami. He said Sukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such vast literature?
Okay. That verse right there is teeing up the next verse, which becomes a crucial verse in the Bhagavatam. An important question was that it said that he was pleased with his own self. That sounds like in our English that it doesn't sound, the translation.
Sort of like, I'm sort of happy. I'm proud. It could be
you're
proud.
You're kind of pleased with yourself there, right? But what that means, that's a translation of the term atmarama, which means it's indicating a person that's liberated, a person who, atma means the self or the soul, rama means pleasure. So a person whose pleasure does not come from anything external, or nothing external can affect their pleasure, because the pleasure is connected spiritually within. It's a liberated person. So it's saying Sukadeva Goswami was already a liberated person. Why did he get so caught up in this Bhagavatam? and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, if he was already liberated, already free, then what was his interest in this study of Bhagavatam? Why did he take interest in it? So that's teeing up the next verse, which becomes a crucial. Let's read it, and we'll talk about like the history of this verse and how it plays out, and so on.
Okay, great. Text 10. Atmaramas chamunayo nigranta apyu uru krame kurvantya haitukim bhaktim itham bhuta guno hari. All different varieties of atmaramas. So there's many different, that's very interesting in itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's varieties, nuanced, self-satisfied beings, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. That's bhakti, unalloyed devotional service. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. I think it's fascinating that the Vedas speak about nuanced versions, right, of self-satisfied souls. There's like all different types of sadhus out there, all different varieties of atmaramas, especially those on the path of self-realization. So it sounds like there's atmaramas who are not on the path of self-realization. Who are they? They're just sort of like...
I don't know what that means, to be honest.
They're just sort of like... It sounds like they're like, impersonalists that just sort of like seal themselves off, or probably tapasvis who practice not going outward for their pleasure.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want self-realization, but they just want to be, tapasvis tapasvis are those who create so much austerity in their life. Like they'll surround themselves with heat in the summer, or they'll do incredible amounts of fasting, or they'll stop speaking. They do so many austerities to make the senses painful. So they're forced to go inside to find some pleasure. So they may not necessarily even want self-realization or God realization, but they want to just connect with the inner self. Whereas in bhakti, it's not just about cutting out our sensual experience with the world, but it's connection through seva and service, and seeing divinity in every being out there. You want to comment?
Well, this verse, it's very significant because the Bhagavatam, and we have to keep coming back to this message, that Vyasadeva, the author of all the Vedic literature, he's written a variety of different Vedic literature for people on different levels. And some of it was just how to be a better, more pious materialist. And then you have like books like the Upanishads were about breaking free from all materialism and renouncing the things of this world. Now, what this verse is pointed out is that even once you've done that, because there's a logic that plays out in spiritual circles, that if my suffering has been caused by all of the variety of things in the world that I see, suffering is caused due to the form that I'm in. Suffering is caused due to the relationships that I have with others. If these things are the cause of suffering, then the freedom from suffering must look like there's no forms, there's no relationships. Everything merges into one divine light, and you just have peace. Okay? You understand the logic? That if the varieties of this world have caused my pain and suffering, then freedom from variety must look like there's no variety whatsoever. Now, but if you go further with that logic, here's a question, Raghunath. You ready?
Okay.
What's the difference? What's the opposite of being $1 million in debt?
Having $1 million.
Okay, very good, right? So one might say
that was a close one. I was like, say the right thing. To die at the Ganges. I was like,
so
I got a crazy crew here.
One might, like being way down here, like I'm like in $1 million debt. And one may think the opposite of that is to be free of debt. right?
Oh, I like where you're going with this analogy.
Okay. So I might think, here I am down on the bottom and $1 million in debt. If only it's causing me anxiety, it's causing me suffering. If only I could be free of that. That's the opposite. I'm no longer in debt. But really, that's just a neutral stage, being free of the debt. The opposite of being $1 million in debt is to own $1 million. Okay? And the being free of the debt is just neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take this analogy further, you can say that suffering in this material world and all its relationships and all its variety and all its forms, I need to be free of that, free of form, free of variety, free of relationship. But the real opposite, that's just a neutral stage. The real opposite of that is transcendental form, transcendental relationship, transcendental spiritual form, spiritual relationships, spiritual pastimes, etc. That's the way the Bhakti-yogis explain it. And that's the way Vyasadeva, the author of all the literature, including the Upanishads and all of that, that's the way he explains it in the Bhagavatam, which is his conclusive work where he wants to set everything straight. So when we read this verse, what it's saying is that now Shukadeva Goswami becomes this important figure in the Bhagavatam, and he is like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the ultimate, spiritualist. He's like free of any material desire, right? He's got none. He's naked. He's just wandering around like in his spiritual consciousness without any material confusion, attachment. He's liberated. He's there. He's free. He's got nothing material interests him. But then why did he become, if he's already free, why did he become interested in these stories about Krishna, having romance, playing and so on? Why did he take an interest in this lengthy literature, which goes into form, it goes into relationships, it goes into all these different things? Isn't that maybe, and some spiritualists would say, those stories about Krishna and his, the love that he was having with his devotees and so on, it's nice. It brings you to a bit higher level in life. There's some wisdom that you can find there, but eventually you have to get rid of all that, because the truth is this freedom from all form, from all variety, from all relationship, just the oneness, the divine light. But this is saying, no, this person was super advanced and super free of any material attachment, but he became interested in, he became fascinated by and deeply absorbed in these spiritual pastimes, spiritual forms, spiritual relationships. So this verse becomes evidence of that. It becomes a powerful, if you're in a court of law, is what you would base your argument on, a verse just like this, that even the liberated people, the atmaramas,
so this is the famous atmarama verse.
It's the famous atmarama verse. Now, how did it become famous? If we read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya, who was like, becomes this extremely important figure in the history of bhakti, he explains this verse to the most powerful philosopher of the day, whose name was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the guru of the king of Orissa, and who was trying to. Sri Chaitanya was a 24-year-old sannyasi. And
sannyasi means like a lifelong monk.
Yeah, and generally you do that later in age, and he was also young and handsome and just like, so Sarvabhauma was saying, let me train him up in Vedanta philosophy so that he can become detached from the things of this world. And he spent 7 days speaking to him, and Sri Chaitanya didn't respond at all. And that's another reason why we need Zoom, right? We need to be able to see people's response to what we're saying when you're speaking. You need to have someone respond, right?
Imagine if you're giving class to someone. Mara's like this. You listen to that Bhagavatam, just like nods. And you're like, are you listening? Are you getting this? Give me some feedback. Does it make sense? And Lord Chaitanya did that for 7 days. Didn't give any feedback whatsoever. And Sarvabhauma got so frustrated. He goes, huh?
Didn't even nod.
Didn't even nod.
Yeah.
And then He said, well, what do you think about this? Kaustubha, you want to finish your story?
So he says, well, do you understand the meaning of Vedanta as I'm sharing it with you? He says, I understand Vedanta, but the way that you're explaining is confusing everything. It's like your explanation where like the ultimate goal is just this oneness and there's no form and there's no relationship and all that. You're confusing the thing. And for the 24-year-old to be saying this to this most well-established philosopher is like, is considered like, oh, okay, well, let's hear you explain it, So then he takes this atmarama verse. First, Sarvabhauma explained it in like 9 different ways. And then Sri Chaitanya took the same verse. He took every word in the verse. I think there's like 11 words or something like that. And he explained them all in different ways, connected to the word atmarama. So you come up with combinations of different ways to understand and interpret this verse, but everyone leading to the idea of pure bhakti. And when Sarvabhauma heard that explanation, it just blew his mind so much that he transformed and accepted the higher teachings. Later on in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sanatana Goswami, another super important person in the history of the bhakti movement, meets with Sri Chaitanya and says, I heard you explain this verse. Huh?
I was going to interrupt because it's hard to understand. Because you think, well, like a monk, a scholarly monk. You got to understand, this is like an equivalent to like tenured professors at Harvard or Cambridge.
Yes.
They're not just like ordinary people. They're like, and it's not just like, you can't even relate it to like a tenured professor at Harvard because it's not just like you go to school and you get a PhD. It's not that. To have this type of clout that they had, you had to have like impeccable character. Like fully control of the senses. Well, they become the leaders of society, not just because they got a degree and they published a book or published some, right? They've actually living by example. This is what we're asked to do. You want to be a teacher? Okay, great. Live by example. That's how you become a teacher in this culture.
Very nice. And so Sanatana Goswami like personified that better than anyone. And so he says to Sri Chaitanya, I heard that you once explained the Atmarama verse in 19 varieties of ways to Sarvabhauma. Could you please explain that? And Sri Chaitanya, and that's what I was referring to earlier, Sri Chaitanya said, what do I know? I don't know anything, but because I'm with you, I'm feeling inspired, so I'll speak whatever I can speak. And then he explained it, I think in 64 or 61 different ways in all different varieties of different combinations of using the words in different ways. And if you read that chapter, it's like over 200 verses in the Chaitanya chapter. It's so beautiful. It is just an unbelievable chapter.
It's
all based around this.
It's very philosophical. You know what? I should go back and read it because I remember reading that when I was young, and my only brain was like, I can't read this. This is too thick for my head. I get sometimes, I don't want to say boring, but boring.
If you go back,
because I didn't have a taste for all that stuff. Just like if you read in the 10th canto, there are these prayers of the personified Vedas. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to read 50 pages of this prayers. But now if I go back and read those, like, wow, that is incredible. It's just like a different vantage points of my life. Like, just give me a story. Krishna steals butter. I like that. Krishna eats dirt. I like that. Krishna kills the guy with the invisible spaceship. I like that. Like 75 pages of glorification. Oh, come on.
Okay, Raghu, let's do this. You and I read Chaitanya Charitamrita on Patreon. We'll do it live.
Reading the Atmarama verses. Okay, you know what? I got to accept. I'm a little intimidated by those verses.
No, Raghunath, you're forgetting what that chapter is like. It's not just like dense philosophy. It's every point that's being made is drawing up beautiful verses from Bhagavatam and it's all about like how attractive Krishna is.
You know, I probably read it like 30 years ago. Okay.
We're doing this.
I'm going to dive back in. Thank you, Kaustubha, for the inspiration.
Thank you.
I'm a different man now.
So now now that being said, what we just described was that there's a logic within spiritual circles that says that if we suffer due to variety in relationship, then the solution to that is to negate variety in relationship.
Did everybody understand what he just said? because he said that fast, and we never use words like negate variety. And
Okay.
We're talking big 4-syllable words here.
I'll say it again. That that most people aren't even on the spiritual, approaching the spiritual level. They're just thinking this world is meant for my enjoyment. But a deeper thinker, a spiritualist may say, I get that there's patterns in how this world works. And when you try to enjoy the things of this world through the senses, you may get some temporary thrill, but it leads to deeper suffering. I want to break free of that suffering, the suffering that I've experienced due to my body, the form that I have, the suffering that I've experienced coming into contact with other forms, the suffering that I've experienced in relationship with other beings. I believe that this world is a type of illusion. I'm meant to break free of all of it. And if variety and form and relationship has been the cause of my suffering, then it would be logical to assume that the relief of the suffering would be found in a state of consciousness or a state of existence wherein there is no form, there's no relationship like that. And I want
a formless relationship.
And I merge into a divine light, a oneness. Now, what the Bhagavatam is going to say is the author of the books that brought you to that conclusion is now going to help correct that and help you understand that there is actually a state of existence like that called merging into the Brahman or the Brahma Jyoti. But it's not that you fully merge. You're still you there, but you think you've become this divine light. But because
compare it to a green bird flying into a green tree.
It looks like it's become one with the tree, but it's still an individual, and eventually it's going to come out. That's a perfect analogy, Raghu. Very, very good.
You like
nice
it?
One.
It's not
nice
mine.
One.
I stole it from the Upanishads.
Can I take it? So what Vyasadeva is going to clarify in the Bhagavatam is it's like that merging into the oneness is a temporary thing where it appears that you've merged, but you haven't. And eventually, because our dharma or our nature is to connect with others in love, we become drawn out of that. So the real solution is spiritual form, spiritual connection, spiritual relationship. And that's going to carry out here. So that's why, here's the question. Why did Sukadeva Goswami, who was already liberated, become interested in devotional service, become interested in the form of Krishna, become interested in the relationships of bhakti that are play out in the Bhagavatam? Why did he take in? Because it's still a higher level of spiritual understanding. That's why he became fascinated by it. Now, that just leads to just one other thing that I wanted to read today. You ready, Raghu? We got 6 minutes. I think we have just enough time.
Ready for you, Prabhu.
So there's a passage, there's a commentary by Srila Prabhupada that I wanted to read. And this plays out in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma is sitting on the lotus, in the universe, ready to create. But he feels some anxiety about where this sense of creation may lead. He may develop pride and become caught up in it and so on. It's a great challenge in front of him to create the universe. And he prays to Lord Vishnu in meditation. And then Lord Vishnu speaks. But I want to read this commentary that Prabhupada shares here, because I believe that our resistance to the idea of spiritual form and spiritual relationship is because of our experiences of those things in this world. And so we grasp to this impersonal idea of liberation.
I want to give up relationships. I want to go live in a cave. I want to get,
escapism.
Right? It's a type of escapism.
Yeah. So let me read this. The supreme. So this is Lord Vishnu speaking to Brahma. This is from the third canto. He says, "O Brahma, O depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of creation, of your duties in this world that you now have to carry out. What you are begging from me has already been granted before. O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart." And then he says, "O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe. You'll see God within yourself and throughout the universe, and you will see that you, yourself, and the universe, and all the living entities are within me. You will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe, just as fire is situated in wood. Only in that state of transcendental vision will you be able to be free from all kinds of illusion. Now, there's so much we could discuss about those verses, but this is the verse that we're getting to. I mean, they're so rich with wisdom and spiritual wisdom. Now, this verse: when you are free from the conception of the gross and subtle bodies of your body and mind, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. Okay, that when you're free of all illusion, you're going to realize your form and my form and how would we associate together. At that time, you will be situated in pure consciousness. Now, here's Prabhupada's commentary. He says, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a very important book on bhakti, it is said that a person whose only desire is to render transcendental service to the Lord is a free person in any condition of material existence. That service attitude, the attitude of serving God, connecting with God through loving service, that service attitude is the svarupa, or the real form of the soul. Sri Chaitanya, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to God. The Mayavadi school.
How does that not sound? It sounds like a prison, man.
Well, hold on. Now, hold on.
My job is to be a servant my whole life? What?
All right. You see, you're responding just with exactly that attitude is what's being responded here. So now Prabhupada uses a term. He says the Mayavada school. The Mayavada school is the school that I was describing earlier, that thinks the ultimate goal is to merge into the oneness. He says the Mayavada school shudders at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity. You were just shuddering, Raghu, right?
I was shuddering.
The Mayavada school shudders at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity, not knowing that in the transcendental realm, the service of the Lord is based on transcendental love. Transcendental loving service is never to be compared to the forced service of the material world, like a prison.
Achha.
Even if one is in the material world, even if one is under the conception that he is no one's servant, I'm nobody's servant, right?
I'm no one's my master. I'm not bowing to anybody.
Yeah. So in the material world, even if one is under the conception that he is no one's servant, he is still the servant of his senses, under the dictation of the material modes. Yeah. I'm just following whatever my senses tell me to do, right?
Sure.
Factually, no one is master here in the material world, and therefore the servants of the senses have a very bad experience of servitude. We don't have the right person, the right object to serve with love, so our experiences become dissatisfying. Right? They shudder at the thought of service because they have no knowledge of the transcendental position. In transcendental loving service, the servitor is as free as the Lord. The Lord is Swarat, or fully independent, and the servant is also fully independent, or Swarat, in the spiritual atmosphere, because there's no forced service. It's all based on love. There, the transcendental loving service is due to spontaneous love. I just said that. A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the son.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to butt in and give an analogy.
You can't, well, that doesn't work. You can't say, I was just going to say that, Raghunath.
But I was just going to say that. I just didn't want to interrupt.
I believe you. I believe you.
Just like a parent is taking on so much responsibility for the children. They're driving all over, the crazy soccer mom, making dinner, going out shopping, bringing on the kids, and the kids don't even, but in that mood, they're doing it. Why? They're doing it out of total love.
You serve out of love naturally. When you love someone, you serve them naturally, spontaneously. A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the son, the friend's service unto the friend, or the wife's service unto the husband, or the husband's service unto the wife. These reflections of service by friends, parents, or wives are not forced, but are due only to love. Here in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection, The real service, or service in Svarupa, the true form, is present in the transcendental world in association with the Lord. The very same service in the transcendental love can be practiced in devotion here. Right? So we fear relationship because we have a history of bad relationships. We fear becoming a servant because we have a history of being exploited. But in the transcendental realm, there's love that's spontaneous, that draws natural service out. And that is our true nature. That is what we were designed for. That is what we were made of. And that is what we were meant to uncover through the practice of yoga.
Kaustubha, our nature is true love. Thank you for bringing us to this high place today.
Thank you, Rob.
I love having my morning with Kaustubha and all of you. I love live here. Thanks, everybody, joining us live. We're going to take this party on the road tomorrow. What a great way to wake up. Thanks for everybody joining us. If you're listening to us for the first time, or if you're new to the program, welcome. Make sure you go to Apple Podcasts and give us 5-star review and tell us something nice. It helps our ratings. Give us a review. Tell your friends about the show. It's a great, healthy addiction to get into.
Right.
Don't watch Good Morning America. Watch Good Morning Bhagavatam with Kaustubha.
And Raghu. And hey, tonight, Bhakti Center, Thursday night kirtan. Please come if you can.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody. If you got any questions, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And thanks for everybody with your Patreon support and our Patreon community. See you tomorrow. Everybody on Zoom, good to see you. Thanks for everybody joining late and all these new faces we got going on. And all the people I didn't say good morning to that are here now. Krista, sorry. Jamuna Jaya, I don't know what's going on. I don't see you jumping around here. It's the end of the show. Kelly Skinner, good to see you. Clifford Dean.